Pain, it comes uninvited, often from the very people we trusted most. It arrives like a thief in the night, stealing our peace, shattering our confidence, and leaving us gasping for answers in the silence. Some wounds heal, but others linger. The betrayal of a friend, the cruelty of a family member, the abandonment of someone who once promised to stand by you. These are the kinds of wounds that don't just hurt, they redefine the way we see the world. You may have spent nights staring at the ceiling asking yourself, why? Why did they do this to me? What did I ever do to deserve this? And yet no answer comes. No voice speaks from the heavens to explain why you had to endure such suffering. You replay the past, searching for clues, trying to make sense of something that seems senseless. But here's the truth. The pain they gave you was never about fairness. It was about something much deeper, something beyond human comprehension. There is a natural order in this world, one that operates beyond our limited understanding, a balance that cannot be manipulated no matter how much someone thinks they have escaped the consequences of their actions. This is where many people get it wrong. They believe that cruelty is a sign of strength, that stepping on others to rise higher makes them powerful, that breaking someone's spirit is a form of dominance. But history time and time again proves otherwise. Look at the lives of those who thrive by harming others. At first they seem untouchable. They lie, manipulate, and betray without hesitation, walking away unscathed while their victims suffer in silence. But their time always comes. Not immediately, not in ways they expect, but it comes. Because pain does not vanish into the void, it plants seeds, and what they sow they will one day reap. And what about you? The one who suffered, who was left behind, who carried the wounds in silence. You are the seed buried in the soil, mistaken for dead, unseen by those who wounded you. But beneath the surface, something incredible is happening. Pain is not just suffering, it is transformation. It is the breaking open of old ways to make room for something stronger, something wiser. While they laughed at your downfall, God was working. While they walked away thinking they had won, He was turning your suffering into a force they could never escape. Have you ever noticed how people who cause harm never truly escape it? At first they believe they are free. They live their lives as if nothing ever happened, carrying on as if they did nothing wrong. But deep down, something begins to shift. The weight of their actions follows them like a shadow. They see your face in their dreams. They remember the moments they justified their cruelty. And though they may never admit it, something inside them starts to decay. You don't have to take revenge. You don't have to lower yourself to their level, because their punishment is already in motion. The very thing they did to you becomes their own destruction. The lies they told become the chains that bind them. The betrayal they inflicted becomes the dagger that turns on them. And the worst part, they have no one to blame but themselves. There will come a day when they will look back and realize what they have done. When the people they once fooled see them for who they truly are. When the lies unravel, when their circle crumbles, when the weight of their choices crushes them from within. And you won't need to lift a finger. Because justice does not come by human hands, it comes from a higher power. But the question is, will you be ready? Will you be strong enough to walk away when their world starts to fall apart? Will you allow yourself to rise while they sink under the weight of their own doing? Or will you still be clinging to the pain they left you with? Because understand this, God does not just balance the scales. He elevates those who trust in Him. He lifts up the ones who endured, not with bitterness, but with faith. So if you are still hurting, still wondering when justice will come, remember this, it is already in motion. The pain they gave you is not forgotten. It is being shaped into something greater than you can imagine. You do not need to seek their downfall because it is already written. Your only task is to rise, to heal, to move forward knowing that while they remain trapped in the consequences of their actions, you are being prepared for something greater. And that, my friend, is how God turns the pain they gave you into their punishment. There are laws in this world that no man can rewrite, forces set in motion that no amount of arrogance or deception can override. One of those laws is this: what you give to others, you will receive in return. It is a truth older than time, a reality embedded in the very fabric of existence. The pain they gave you was not an isolated event, not a meaningless act of cruelty that simply disappears into the void. No, every action sends ripples through the universe, and those ripples always come back. People like to believe that they can escape consequences, that if they move fast enough, lie well enough, manipulate deeply enough, they can outmaneuver the justice built into creation. And for a time, it seems to work. They walk away unbothered, untouched, while you are left to pick up the shattered pieces of your life. You see them laughing, thriving, carrying on as if nothing ever happened. And you wonder, where is the justice? Where is the consequence for what they did? But just because you cannot see it yet does not mean it isn't coming. Because justice moves in ways unseen, and consequence is not always instant. The greatest trick that life plays on the wicked is allowing them to believe they have escaped, when in reality, they are only running toward their own downfall. Look around. How many people have you seen who built their lives on dishonesty, cruelty, and betrayal, only to find themselves years later trapped in the very destruction they caused? The people they once manipulated turn against them. The relationships they built on deception crumble. Their once unshakable confidence is eaten away by the slow, creeping realization that they are alone, with no one to trust and nowhere to turn. But let's go even deeper. The consequence is not just external, it is internal. A person who harms others does not walk away whole. They may pretend, they may act as though they are unaffected, but deep down, something within them begins to rot. Guilt, paranoia, regret, these forces do not make a grand entrance. They slip in quietly, settling into the corners of the mind, waiting for the right moment to make themselves known. They will remember what they did to you in moments of silence, in dreams they cannot control, in conversations that bring up memories they'd rather forget. And that's the thing about consequence, it does not need to be loud. Sometimes the most painful justice is the one no one else can see. The sleepless nights, the sudden realization years later that they have become everything they once feared. The awareness that no matter how far they run, no matter how much they try to justify their actions, they cannot escape the truth of who they are. And while they are unraveling, while they are consumed by the weight of what they have done, you are being lifted. You are growing. The suffering they placed on you is not wasted. It is being transformed into strength, wisdom, resilience. You are learning, evolving, becoming untouchable in a way they will never understand. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to hope for their downfall, because the laws of consequence are already at work. The very pain they gave you is the seed of their own destruction. And when the time comes, they will know that what they did was not forgotten, that the universe, that God does not overlook injustice, that no matter how much time has passed, no matter how far they have tried to distance themselves from their own actions, the weight of it will always find its way home. Power is a deceptive thing. It tricks people into believing they are untouchable. It convinces them that they can manipulate, betray, and destroy without consequence. The ones who hurt you, who lied, who abandoned, who inflicted suffering with no remorse, believed they had power over you. They walked away thinking they had won, that you were weak, that they had stripped you of your dignity, your voice, your worth. But what they failed to understand is that true power does not belong to the one who inflicts pain. True power belongs to the one who endures it and rises. The world has always glorified those who seem to have control, those who command attention, those who hold authority over others, those who dictate the terms of someone else's suffering. They appear invincible. Their actions seem to have no consequences, and for a while it might seem as if they are right. They move forward without punishment, and you are left with the burden of their cruelty. It's infuriating. It makes you question the fairness of it all. But there is something they do not realize, something far greater than their temporary advantage. Power without justice is an illusion. A person who gains power through manipulation and cruelty is not strong. They are weak. Their strength is borrowed, built on fragile foundations, dependent on the suffering of others to sustain itself. That kind of power never lasts. It erodes, collapses, and turns on them in the end. History has shown it time and time again. The dictators who ruled with an iron fist, the leaders who climbed to the top by stepping on the backs of others, the people who deceived and betrayed without hesitation, they all fall. And they do not simply fall by accident. They fall because power without morality is self-destructive. Look at the ones who hurt you. Look at how they operate. Their victories are built on lies. Their confidence is rooted in deception. Their strength is a facade, and no matter how much they seem to win, they are always at risk of being exposed. Here's the difference between their power and true power. Real power is built on integrity. Real power does not need to harm others to stand strong. You in your suffering may feel powerless, but your endurance is power. Your ability to stand tall, despite what they did to you, is power. Your ability to hold on to your faith, to remain true to yourself, to resist becoming like them, that is power. Because real power is not in destroying others, it is in surviving what was meant to destroy you. And then there is justice, the great equalizer, the force they cannot escape. Justice does not need to announce itself. It does not need to arrive in dramatic fashion. It works in silence, weaving itself into their lives like a shadow that follows them wherever they go. Justice ensures that no one truly gets away with anything, because the price of causing pain is pain itself. The ones who betrayed you may think they have moved on. They may live their lives as if nothing ever happened. But what they do not realize is that justice is patient. It does not rush. It waits. It allows them to believe they are free, only to bring them face to face with the consequences of their actions at the exact moment when they least expect it. And by the time they realize it, it will be too late. They will look back and see that the power they thought they had was nothing more than a borrowed illusion, that the strength they wielded was hollow, that while they spent their time tearing others down, they were in reality building their own downfall. Because justice is not about revenge, it is about restoration. And while they spend their days trying to outrun the weight of what they have done, you will stand firm, because you were never powerless. You were simply being prepared for something greater. Justice is not always loud. It does not always arrive with flashing lights and grand declarations. It does not always strike the moment we expect it to, but it is always at work, moving, weaving, settling accounts in ways that human eyes cannot always perceive. The ones who hurt you, who left you in pain while they carried on as if nothing had happened, may believe they have escaped consequence. They may believe that because no punishment has arrived at their doorstep, they are free. But that is the deception of time, because justice, true justice, works in silence. People expect justice to be immediate. They expect to see it unfold in clear, undeniable ways. And when it doesn't, they assume it isn't coming at all. This is where so many lose faith. They mistake delayed justice for absence. But what they fail to understand is that God does not operate on human schedules. His justice is not dictated by urgency or impatience. It is far more precise than that. There are things happening right now that you cannot see. Quiet movements, subtle shifts, the very foundations of their lives being adjusted in ways that will eventually bring everything into balance. Because justice is not just about punishment, it is about exposure. It is about stripping away the illusion of strength and forcing them to face the truth of their actions. Look around. Have you ever seen a person who spent years inflicting pain, believing themselves invincible, only to one day be completely unrecognizable? The confidence they once carried now replaced by exhaustion. The control they once had now slipping through their fingers. The relationships they once manipulated now fractured beyond repair. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen when we expect it. But it always happens. Because you see, God is not concerned with human timelines. He is concerned with perfecting justice. And perfect justice is not always immediate, it is strategic. He allows time, not as an act of neglect, but as a means of making the punishment undeniable. He waits until their own actions have built a case against them so strong that they cannot escape it. They will begin to feel it, not in the way you may have expected, not in a way the world will always notice, but they will feel it in the silence of their own mind, in the moments when their distractions fail them, when their own thoughts turn against them. They will hear echoes of what they have done, no matter how much they try to suppress it. Because guilt is not always loud, but it is relentless. They will carry the weight of what they have done in ways that no one else can see. It will show in their sleepless nights, in the way their relationships begin to unravel, in the way life no longer offers them the same kind of joy it once did. Because they know, deep down they know. And here's what makes God's justice so powerful: it does not require your involvement. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to expose them. You don't have to seek their downfall, because God has already set it in motion. He does not forget, He does not overlook, and he does not need your help to bring justice into effect. The ones who thought they could get away with hurting you were wrong. They may have deceived people. They may have manipulated their way through life. But God cannot be deceived. He sees the truth and he moves accordingly. This is why silence is more powerful than retaliation, because while they believe they have walked away unscathed, they are completely unaware that their punishment has already begun. They don't realize that the very choices they made to harm you are the same choices that will one day ruin them. They think they are free, but in reality they are trapped. Because justice is not something that needs to be seen to be real. It is happening, slowly, in ways they don't yet recognize, but the moment will come when they will be forced to face it. And by then, there will be no escape. Guilt is a silent force, an invisible chain that tightens around the soul of the one who has done wrong. It does not always announce itself immediately, nor does it strike with the dramatic force of a sudden downfall. No, guilt works in a much more insidious way. It seeps into the mind like water through the cracks of a foundation, slowly but surely weakening the structure until one day it collapses under its own weight. The ones who hurt you may seem unaffected. They may carry themselves with confidence, laugh as if nothing ever happened, move through life untouched by the pain they inflicted. But that is only the surface. Beneath the exterior, something is brewing. The mind has a way of keeping record, even when the person refuses to acknowledge it. The human conscience, no matter how suppressed, was not designed to carry the burden of cruelty without consequence. And for those who have built their lives on harming others, that burden will only grow heavier with time. At first, they may not notice it. They will tell themselves that they were justified in what they did. They will rewrite the past to make themselves the victim, convincing themselves that their actions were necessary, that they were only doing what was best for them. But deep down, a whisper lingers, a small, nagging feeling that does not go away. It begins in the quiet moments, when they are alone, when there is no one left to impress, no one left to manipulate, when the distractions of the world fade away and all that remains is their own mind replaying the things they wish they could forget. They may try to drown it out with noise, with entertainment, with work, with new relationships, with constant movement, but no matter how fast they run, they cannot outrun themselves. The weight of what they have done follows them like a shadow, always present, always whispering, always reminding. And then the cracks begin to show. They start to lose trust in others because deep down they know they cannot be trusted themselves. They begin to question the loyalty of those around them because their own betrayal has made them paranoid. They grow restless, uneasy, irritable. They struggle to maintain the very relationships they once used as proof of their success. They may lash out, pushing people away, isolating themselves without realizing why. Because the truth is, a person who has harmed others cannot live in peace. Their mind becomes their own prison. Every reminder of the past is a stone added to their burden. Every lie they told must be remembered and defended. Every person they deceive becomes a possible threat. And with every passing year, the weight grows heavier. And then the collapse comes. It may not be dramatic. It may not be something the world can see, but it will happen. Because the human soul is not designed to carry that kind of darkness forever. It demands a reckoning. Some will try to suppress it for as long as they can, refusing to acknowledge their wrongs until they are standing at the very end of their lives, looking back at a road filled with broken relationships, shattered trust, and unfulfilled dreams. Some will crumble under the pressure much sooner, self-destructing as the guilt erodes their ability to function. They will make mistakes, ruin opportunities, push away the people who cared for them, and sabotage their own success not because someone else punished them, but because they could no longer bear the weight of their own actions. And what about you, the one they hurt? You may have spent years wondering when they would face the consequences of what they did. You may have longed for some sign that justice was at work. But understand this, their punishment is already happening. Because guilt is its own tormentor. And the ones who inflicted pain upon you are not free. They are carrying a weight they do not fully understand yet, but one day they will. And when that moment comes, they will realize that the greatest pain of all is not the suffering they caused others, but the suffering they have inflicted upon themselves. Pain is not meaningless, though it may feel like it at times, though it may seem like a cruel and random force unleashed upon your life. Pain is never wasted. The suffering you endured at the hands of others was not for nothing. It was not just a period of darkness that served no purpose. What if I told you that while they were breaking you, God was shaping you? That while they were tearing you down, you were actually being rebuilt into something stronger than you ever imagined? Pain refines. It strips away illusions. It forces you to see the world as it truly is, not as you once wished it to be. It removes the false comfort of blind trust, the naivety that once made you vulnerable. It forces you to look deeper, to question, to understand. And while they may have thought they were destroying you, all they were really doing was revealing to you who you truly are. Look back for a moment. Think about the person you were before you were hurt, before they betrayed you, before they left you in ruins. You were different, weren't you? Perhaps softer. Perhaps more willing to believe that everyone had good intentions. Perhaps more willing to give pieces of yourself away without question. And now, you are wiser, you are sharper, you have learned lessons you never wanted to learn, but they have made you stronger. Pain is the teacher no one asks for, but it is the one that leaves the deepest lessons. You have learned what real love is and what it isn't. You have learned the signs of deception, the red flags that you once ignored. You have learned the importance of guarding your energy, of protecting your peace, of not allowing just anyone into the most sacred places of your heart. And the most powerful part, you have survived. What they did to you should have broken you completely. It should have left you without hope, without strength, without the ability to move forward. But here you are, even in your pain, even in your doubt, even in the moments where you questioned everything, you are still here. That is proof of something greater at work. Have you ever considered that God allowed this pain not to harm you, but to prepare you? That you were meant for something greater, but in order to step into it, you first had to be refined. Because here's the truth, the person you were before could not handle what is coming next. You had to be shaped. You had to be strengthened. You had to learn resilience in ways that only suffering can teach. Some of the strongest people in history, the most powerful leaders, the wisest souls, all have something in common. They were shaped by suffering. They walked through fire and emerged unburned. They were beaten down, betrayed, left alone, yet somehow they found their way back stronger than before. And that is where you are headed. But here's what you must understand. Pain is not meant to be carried forever. It is a tool, a lesson, a refiner, but it is not a home. At some point, you must recognize that while they tried to destroy you, all they did was prepare you. While they thought they were taking everything from you, they were actually pushing you towards something greater. And that is where their real punishment begins. Because while they remain trapped in their cycle of destruction, you will rise. You will move forward with wisdom they do not have. You will step into opportunities they will never see. You will become someone they never expected you to be. The pain they gave you was not your end. It was your beginning. And one day they will look at you not as the person they once hurt, not as the person they left behind, but as someone transformed beyond their reach. And that moment, when they realize that what was meant to destroy you only made you stronger, will be the moment they understand the depth of their mistake. Because the greatest revenge is not anger, it is not bitterness. It is becoming everything they tried to stop you from being. There is a moment when the pain they gave you no longer defines you. A moment when you stop looking back, stop replaying the betrayal, stop waiting for their downfall. Because by then, you have realized something far more powerful. Your transformation is their greatest punishment. The ones who hurt you wanted you to stay broken. They wanted you to drown in self-doubt, to spend your days stuck in the wreckage they created. They expected you to carry the weight of their betrayal forever, to be haunted by their actions, to let their cruelty shape the rest of your life. And for a time, perhaps, they succeeded. But what they never counted on was this. You were never meant to stay down. Pain was never your prison. It was your forge. The suffering they inflicted did not leave you weaker. It stripped away the unnecessary, the fragile, the false. It burned away the illusions and left you with something undeniable. Strength that cannot be faked, wisdom that cannot be taught, resilience that cannot be broken. And that is where true justice begins, not in their suffering, not in their downfall, not in their regret, but in your rise. Think about it. What is the worst thing that could happen to someone who tried to break you? Is it that they experience suffering, that they lose what they once had? No. Their true punishment is seeing you thrive in spite of everything they did, to witness the very thing they tried to destroy bloom into something greater than they ever imagined. Because here is the truth they will one day realize. They were never as powerful as they thought. They believed they could control your future by harming you. They believed that their actions would shape your destiny, that the wounds they inflicted would hold you back forever. But they were wrong, because the moment you decide to heal, the moment you decide to rise, their power disappears. Imagine them watching from a distance as you become someone they never expected, as you rebuild, as you grow, as you walk with a confidence they can no longer shake. Imagine the discomfort, the regret, the slow realization that they no longer matter. Because that is what true transformation does. It makes them irrelevant. They wanted you to hate them. They wanted you to seek revenge, to waste your energy proving something to them. But when you rise above it, when you no longer care, when you no longer even think of them, that is when they lose. Because indifference is more powerful than revenge. They will wonder why their words no longer affect you, why their actions no longer hold weight. They will see that while they remain stuck in the same patterns, you have outgrown them completely. And that is the greatest justice of all. But here's what you must understand. Transformation is not just about them. It is about you. You did not go through what you went through just to prove a point. You did not survive just to be consumed by bitterness. You did not endure suffering just to let it define you. You went through it so that you could become someone greater than you ever imagined. And that is where the true shift happens. At first, you may have wanted them to suffer. You may have longed for the day when they would experience the same pain they put you through. And that is natural. But there comes a point when you no longer need their suffering to feel whole, because by then you have already won. When you transform, when you step fully into the person you were meant to become, their punishment is automatic, because the life they tried to ruin is now flourishing. The person they tried to break is now stronger than ever. And the energy they once took from you, it no longer belongs to them. This is why letting go is the ultimate power move. Not because you are weak, not because you are excusing what they did, but because you refuse to let their actions dictate your future. Think about it. What do they have if they no longer have control over you? What do they have if you no longer react, if you no longer seek their validation, if you no longer carry the pain they gave you? They have nothing, because while they remain trapped in the cycle of their own mistakes, you have moved on to something greater, and that is justice. Not the kind that is loud, not the kind that seeks destruction, but the kind that proves beyond any doubt that you were always destined for more. Because the best revenge is not anger, it is not vengeance, it is becoming everything they never wanted you to be. There is a moment when you must decide, do you carry the pain they gave you for the rest of your life, or do you let it go? Do you remain tethered to the suffering they inflicted, replaying the past over and over, or do you free yourself from it? Because make no mistake, holding on to what they did is a chain, and you are the one who holds the key. It is a difficult truth to accept when you have been wronged, when you have suffered betrayal, abuse, cruelty, or abandonment. The last thing you want to hear is that you must release it. Because in a way, holding on to that pain feels like justice. It feels like a way to ensure that their actions are not forgotten, that what they did still matters. But what if I told you that letting go is not about them? It is about you. The ones who hurt you do not deserve space in your mind. They do not deserve to have a hold over your emotions, to have control over your thoughts, to dictate the way you live your life. But every time you revisit the pain, every time you replay their betrayal in your head, every time you allow anger to consume you, you are giving them power they no longer deserve. Letting go is not forgetting. It is not pretending that what happened was okay. It is not absolving them of their wrongdoing. Letting go is releasing yourself from their grip. It is taking back the energy that they stole from you. It is walking away, not in weakness, but in absolute power, knowing that you are no longer bound by the past. Because here's the truth, your future is too important to waste carrying their burden. Think about it. Every moment you spend resenting them is a moment you could have spent building yourself. Every thought wasted on them is energy that could have been used to create the life you deserve. The weight of bitterness, of anger, of waiting for justice, it keeps you anchored to a place you no longer belong. You are meant to rise, but you cannot soar while carrying chains. And here is where the real power of letting go comes in. It is the one thing they never expected you to do. They expected you to stay wounded, to remain trapped in the pain they caused, to let their actions define you forever. But when you let go, when you release yourself from the prison of the past, you do something they never saw coming. You move on without them. And nothing is more devastating to someone who tried to break you than realizing they no longer matter. They may have taken pieces of you, but they did not take your future. They did not take your ability to rebuild. They did not take the strength that has been growing inside of you this entire time. And when you walk away fully and completely, you are no longer the victim. They are. Because while you rise, they are left behind. Left to deal with the consequences of their actions, left to face the emptiness of their choices, left to wonder why they no longer have the control they once did. And as you thrive, as you find joy, as you become the person you were meant to be, they will see that they did not win. They may have wounded you, but they did not destroy you. They may have delayed your journey, but they did not stop you. And in the end, that is the greatest justice of all. Because while they remain trapped in the consequences of their own making, you are finally free. You have spent so much time wondering when justice will come, when they will feel the pain they gave you, when they will realize the weight of what they did. But now you see the truth. It is already happening. The moment they chose to betray, deceive, and hurt you, they set their own downfall in motion. The very pain they inflicted on you became the seed of their own destruction. But your story is not about them anymore. This is not about watching them suffer. It is not about waiting for their regrets. It is not about living in the shadow of their choices. This is about your rise. This is about stepping into your power, understanding that what was meant to break you only made you stronger. The best revenge was never in their punishment. It was always in your transformation. You are not the person you were when they hurt you. You are wiser now, stronger. You have learned the depths of your own resilience, the unshakable nature of your faith, and the power of moving forward. You have discovered that justice does not need to be forced. It unfolds in its own time, in its own way, without your involvement. And now you have a choice. You can remain in the pain, holding on to the past, waiting for the moment they suffer, or you can walk away, free yourself, and step fully into the future that was meant for you, because the weight of your past does not belong in the life you are building. So let them go. Let the pain go. Let the anger go. Justice will take care of them. God will take care of you. And when you finally move forward, when you finally release what was never meant to hold you down, you will realize the truth. You did not